An investigation is underway here in Lexington after police were called out for a shooting, but at first could not find a victim or a shooter. We'll have those details coming up.
The president works to sell an ambitious trade deal. I'm Jacqueline Policastro at the White House. Coming up, I'll break down the selling points and the opinions from members of Congress.
Coming up, we'll take you to Keeneland, where strong storms couldn't keep the crowds away from the Maker's Mark signing.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 4:30.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Palumbo and Sam Dick reporting. Lexington police respond to a shooting but can't find the victim or the shooter.
It happened about 9 this morning on Lakeshore Drive near Henry Clay High School. The victim eventually turned up at the hospital, but the shooter is still on the run. WKYT's Hillary Thornton is tracking the investigation. It's our top story at 4:30.
When police responded to the reported shooting here at these apartments on the corner of Fontaine and Lakeshore Drive, they say they could not find a shooter or a victim. However, they do say they could tell something did happen.
So there's physical evidence, nothing, there's no gunshot rounds, there's no shell casings in the hallway, but there's evidence that someone's injured there. Blood in the parking lot, in the hallway, on the walls.
Police then set up a perimeter and notified nearby Henry Clay High School, which was put on heightened alert. They say about 30 minutes later, the shooting victim showed up at a local hospital with 2 gunshot wounds, 1 to the leg and 1 to the hand.
Some of the statements on the 911 call indicate that there was a suspect that shot the victim. I don't think it was an accidental shooting, at least the information we have at this point.
Investigators say they have not been able to get solid information from witnesses so far and are working to get a statement from that victim. Now, neighbors here say they hope police can get a description of the shooter and whoever is responsible is caught soon.
It's crazy. I didn't know about it. I just moved here and I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm gonna stay at the area. So dangerous.
Investigators are also looking into the possibility of some video from surveillance cameras on the nearby apartments in the area. They are currently talking with those property owners to see if those cameras might have captured something that is useful for their investigation. In Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Police say the shooting victim was brought to the hospital in someone's personal vehicle. Investigators say a man who ended up in a shootout with police died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That shooting happened Wednesday night in Louisville. Police say that 2 officers investigating a report of shots fired found a man in a field with a rifle. They say he approached the officers and fired 2 shots. And that's when police fired back. The coroner says the man had 3 gunshot wounds, but the self-inflicted wound to the head is what killed him.
Governor Steve Beshear has ordered flags to fly at half staff across Kentucky in honor of a Fort Campbell soldier killed in Afghanistan. 22-year-old Specialist John Dawson died in an attack Wednesday. The Massachusetts native was with the 101st Airborne Division. Flags will be lowered on the day of his funeral, but arrangements have not yet been made. President Barack Obama is working to sell his trade policy to members of Congress.
He wants to push for passage of 2 new trade deals. As Jacqueline Policastro shows us, both spell a bit of controversy with lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
The White House says these trade deals are good for Team USA. A new report touts the big numbers, 11.7 million American jobs supported by exports. The numbers are in print. The White House says Made in America exports support jobs and the middle class.
We know that every $1 billion of exports supports more than 5,000 U.S. jobs.
U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman is opening up about a new White House report. Here's what's inside. The White House says last year, more than 137,000 Kentucky jobs were supported by goods exports. More than 70% of all of those exports went to countries involved in these new trade deals. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, an 11-country negotiation, part of the administration's pivot to Asia, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership between the United States and the European Union.
We think it's important that the U.S. take the lead, not be left out of these markets, and have an opportunity to set the rules of the road for the global system.
Some members of Congress are against the president's plans, taking issue with the idea that the president wants trade promotion authority, meaning members of Congress are restricted to a simple up or down vote on any trade agreement and can't add amendments.
The U.S. needs to be able to sit down with its trading partners at the negotiating table and speak with one voice, because no other country is going to ultimately be able to agree to an agreement if they think it's going to be reopened and amended by 535 members of Congress.
The White House trade agenda is ambitious, but is it strong enough to gain support from members of Congress? We'll find out as the trade debate heats up on Capitol Hill. Reporting at the White House, Jacqueline Policastro, WKYT.
Governor Steve Beshear is headed to Asia. He leaves tomorrow for an 11-day trip to promote investing in Kentucky. His plans include a meeting with Taiwan's president and a reception in Japan hosted by the U.S. Ambassador Caroline Kennedy, daughter of the late president. He'll also visit Singapore. Kentucky is home to more than 170 Asian facilities, employing about 40,000 people.
It's a big night for music in Kentucky. The Kentucky Music Hall of Fame will induct several new members in Lexington. They include Montgomery Gentry, Kevin Richardson and Brian Littrell of the Backstreet Boys, Larry Cordell, Clarence Spalding, Pete Stamper, Doc Hopkins, and the Moonglows.
And to recognize our inductees with a prestigious induction into the Hall of Fame is great for the state.
The induction ceremony will be at Lexington Center's Bluegrass Ballroom tonight. As of this morning, there were a limited number of tickets still available. This morning's storms did not stop hundreds of UK fans from camping out to get autographs from UK basketball legends.
They were going to be there no matter what. This year's commemorative Maker's Mark bottle signing took place at Keeneland. Our Mark Barber shows us just how long some people waited in line.
Hundreds of people started camping out for the Maker's Mark signing at Keeneland yesterday afternoon. The first man through the line says he waited 26 hours to get his bottles signed, so he wasn't going to let the spring storms or a sleepless night keep him from continuing a tradition. Mike Richardson hasn't always been first in line, but he has almost always been here.
I've done it for 13 years in a row now, so last year I was number 2 in line. This year, made number 1.
This year, he managed to get a couple hours of sleep despite the powerful overnight storm and was the first of 1,200 people to get his commemorative 2015 Maker's Mark bottle signed. The bottles feature Coach Adolph Rupp on the label, and they were signed by Kentucky basketball greats Adrian Smith, Cliff Hagan, Dan Issel, and Frank Ramsey. Tickets for the signing are always in high demand, but Keeneland officials say this year the tickets went very fast because people see this as a chance to snap a picture of the Hall of Famers and as a way to remember yet another fantastic season while honoring a legendary coach.
Adolph, he was the first real innovator in the game of basketball, other than Dr. Naismith, who invented the game.
Maker's Mark officials tell me since the signing started 19 years ago, it has raised $8 to $9 million for charity. In Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Keeneland CEO and Maker's Mark COO also signed bottles this morning with the former UK stars. Did you know hotels sometimes recycle those little bars of soap after they've been used?
It sounds odd, but it's for a good cause. We'll explain next.
Hey, they don't recycle mine. I take every bar out of there when I leave. Clouds across parts of central and eastern Kentucky as of now. Getting on out of town. I've got some good weather for your weekend here in just a moment.